On today's episode, running world's toughest mudder with diabetes with Eric Dutcher.
This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast.
Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. My name is Will Hicks. Thank you for listening. You're listening to the number one rated obstacle course racing podcast in the world because of listeners like you. Thank you. If you have not left a review for the show on Apple Podcasts, would you do me a kindness? You should go do that right now. Open the Purple Podcast app. Leave me a review. Also, I said this last time, text the word tough to the number 22828. That's tough to 22828. And you will subscribe to our mailing list and get on for the best Black Friday deals you've ever heard of. Very excited about our Black Friday this year over on the OCR Report. Before we talk, we're going to talk diabetes, running world's toughest mudder with diabetes in a minute with Eric Dutcher. But I just want to give you guys a quick update on my status. I know some guys, I don't want to bore anybody. If you don't want to listen, I've said this before. It won't hurt my feelings. Skip ahead. But this is the first year since 2014 that I will not be at World's Toughest Mudder. And it's kind of a deal. Maybe I'll do a whole episode about this maybe next year sometime, but I met with just to catch anybody up, I had an injury at Tough Mudder SoCal about 2 weeks ago. Met with a doctor, and I met with a second doctor this week, and the second doctor was very reassuring about surgery. I was trying to debate whether I should do the surgery or not do the surgery to fix the tendon in my arm that connects the bicep to the elbow. I was leaning toward not doing it. After meeting with the second doctor, he's had the surgery done twice to himself. I was worried about if you do the surgery, there's a risk of losing mobility in your hand that's operated on. And I didn't want to lose the mobility, even though I would lose strength if I did not get the surgery. So, but he's a surgeon and he's still doing surgery. He said, yeah, there's some slight risk, but it's usually minor. And even if there is some, you can usually regain it with physical therapy. So, I'm going to get the surgery on Monday, which is the day of the brunch and the day of the bar crawl after World's Toughest Mudder. And because of that, I debated. I was like, you know what? I can come out and watch the race, and I could come even out like Thursday, and then I can just fly back to California on Sunday, get the surgery on Monday. But once I get the surgery, like I'm kind of I can't drive. You obviously can't use your arm, but you can't, there's like, you can't, you're not supposed to do anything, right? Like for 2 or 3 weeks. So there's stuff I need to get prepared and my wife and kid, like, I got a family. That's my main priority. But my wife was on board. She's like, she knows the race is important and she knows it's a big part of, it's something I spend a lot of time on, something that means a lot to me. But I'm not going to, anyway, that's a lot to say. I won't be out there this year, and it's eating me up inside. I'm recording this Thursday evening, 5:00 Pacific time, and people are posting pictures on Facebook and online of, they're in the plane, or I'm in Atlanta, or they're, posting what the weather looks like when they get there. And it's really hard. You know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out, right? People are like, oh, I have so much FOMO this weekend watching everyone. I don't have FOMO. I have NOMO. Like, I know what I'm missing out on. And at first, when I kind of made the decision that I'm not going to be there, I was like, well, I can, Carlo will be there. Carlo Piscatello will be on the OCR Report Instagram doing live stories. Kind of, here's who's winning, who's losing. Here's some random athletes that are struggling and people doing great. And I was like, you know what? I could get on the Twitter and I could just kind of talk about the race that way. But I don't know if I'll be able to watch it live, like as it's happening. Like this is like really, anyway, I don't want to complain. I told you last time, like I have two legs at work. I have a wife and kids and vision, and I can hear, like I have nothing to complain about. I have I live in a beautiful house and a beautiful city and a beautiful state and the best country in the world. And I have nothing to complain about. It's tearing me up to not be there. Some people put some really nice stuff on the World's Toughest Mudder community group and some very kind things. And, I want you to know that, I sincerely appreciate it. It's very kind that, and some of these people, like, I don't know if we've ever even talked or met. And I'm very grateful. You're very kind. Thank you for the kind words. Make sure your focus of the race isn't like, anyway, I'm just a guy. Like, I will let you down. I promise. Every person you love, we're only people. We're human, and eventually, people will let you down. World's Toughest Mudder will not let you down. The race will not let you down. Like, it's 24 hours, and it's gonna beat you up, and you're gonna be miserable. I don't care if it's the most beautiful weather in the world, which it's not gonna be. It's gonna beat you up. The race will always be brutal. And if someone's like, "Oh, World's Toughest Mudder's not that hard," World's Toughest Mudder's not that hard. Come on, then run faster. World's Toughest Mudder, you're not hard. Come on. World's Tough. Don't look to people. People eventually will let you down. World's Toughest Mudder, the race will always beat you up. I promise. I will be next year. I think my plan for next year is I'm not going to run any regular events, just because this is stupid, right? Why do I keep this? Has happened twice in 3 years. It's ridiculous. So I will be at several events, though. The first one I'm planning to be at is Tough Mudder LA, April 4th and 5th. It's also a Toughest Mudder. And so I'll be out there. I don't know what exactly I'll be doing, but I'll be there. So if you want to come up and say, "Hey, sorry I missed you at World's Toughest," I would love to see you out there. It'll be one of the 10th anniversary events for Tough Mudder. It should be very, very fun. I'm not going to be in Atlanta, but my jacket will be. Clinton Jackson is going to have my dry robe, my World's Toughest Podcast dry robe with my name on the back. Hopefully it will keep him warm overnight as he and Sean motivate the guys at the start line, or the start line, finish line, pit area. So if you see Clinton, see my jacket, give it a high five as you go past. Also, Mark James. Mark lives here in San Diego, about 25 minutes from me. I talked to him last night. He flew out this morning. He is in Atlanta now. I gave him a envelope full of World's Toughest Podcast stickers. So if you go up to find Mark, he's a 50 plus, super fit, former Navy SEAL. I don't know if they say former Navy SEAL. I don't know if that's a thing. Anyway, he could kick my butt and probably yours too. Let him know you left a review for the podcast, and he will be happy to give you a sticker while supplies last. Anyway, me being there isn't a big deal. Like, the race will go on without me. World's Toughest Mudder is there before me. It'll be there after me. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. So I'm sad to be missing it, but the race is much bigger than me and much bigger than you. The real story this year, here's what I am looking forward to seeing what happens, is with Chris Mendoza versus Trevor Psychos. That will be a great race. Trevor and Chris both have won one World's Toughest Mudder title between them. Last year, Trevor was in the lead for most of the race until Chris passed him with like a mile to go. They both finished with 100 miles. It's the best finish in World's Toughest Mudder history, and they will both be back to compete against each other. They're friends. They were teammates at Toughest Mudder West a few weeks ago, and they will be opponents. They're friendly, but neither of them wants to lose. It'll be a great, great race between those two guys. Also, watch out, Javier Escobar. He could do some he talks a big game, but he runs a big game too. So it'll be fun to see if Javier can crack the podium for the first time, and maybe he can make things interesting between Chris and Trevor. On the women's side, it will be amazing to watch Amelia Boone make her return to World's Toughest Mudder. Amelia has run World's Toughest Mudder 4 times. She's won 3. She's the only woman to win World's Toughest Mudder more than twice. And the time she didn't win, she finished in second. So, but it's been a long time since she's been there. 2015 was her last year. So, obviously she's still got the mental game, right? You will not find a stronger woman, stronger person mentally than Amelia Boone. But it'll be, we just talked about it. World's Toughest Mudder is brutal. And I can't wait to see how Amelia does against the course and against the weather. Going up against her will be last year's second place finisher, Erin Rost. Erin is, she's kind of like, she's very inspiring to me. Like Erin is, she ran one of the toughest mudders last year. She finished with 25 miles barely, and she was not happy with that performance. So she's like, you know what? I want to run Worlds this year, and I want to do well. This is last year. I'm talking about 2018. So she ran every day, and she lifted weights every single day. She finished in second place, and she was surprised, but she was just inspired, and she's come back. I talked with her in Vegas a few weeks ago. Erin versus Amelia is going to be a great, great race. I can't wait to see how that shakes out. And there's every single year, there's 1 or 2 people who I've never even heard of. They literally, as far as I know, they come out of nowhere and they end up on the podium, or they end up top 5. Last year, it was Erin Rost in second place. She was running, and we were all like, who is this Erin Rost girl? And then we found out that's not even how you say her name. So Erin's not going to surprise anybody this year. We're expecting, great things. But someone will, and it'll be fun to see who that man or that woman or one of each, I don't know who that will be. So have a great race. Have a great weekend. This is a lot of talking for me before I get to our interview. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. On Monday, I will have the surgery on my arm. I'll let you know about it. Follow our social media, the OCR Report and World's Toughest Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I will let our social media. I don't post a lot, but I'll let them know and let Kim know. Kim DeVos will post something just in case no one's curious. The surgery happens at 1:30 Pacific time, which is probably about the time you'll be starting the bar crawl. So before you have your first drink, feel free to say a quick prayer for me that I get through the surgery okay. And I'll watch the brunch. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to watch the brunch on, anyway, you can watch it. If you're even not going to World Cup, you can watch the brunch. Go to the OCR Report Instagram and watch it. But like emotionally, I think I'll be able to watch the brunch and see how everyone does. It'll be a great race, a great weekend. I am sorry I'm going to miss it, but you guys will do so good. Something that kept me going last year was that, like, you're going to be tired. You're going to be sore. Just expect it and, like, plan on it. And when that pain gets there, like, welcome it. It's like an old friend. And you're like, hey, look who's here, guys. Look who showed up. It's our friend suffering. And don't run away from it. Don't shy from it. Don't try and it's supposed to be there. Don't think, oh, no, I'm going to be so sore tomorrow. Yeah, you're going to be sore. That's the point. This is the only chance you have all year long. And if you camp out, if you fall asleep in your tent, if you need to get warm and you can't go back out for a lap, you will have this is your last chance for 12 months before you get to do this again. And you'll never get to do it again in Atlanta. So if you want to crush Atlanta, this is the only chance you will ever have to do it. So I know it sucks, but it's so good. It sucks so good. I can't wait to talk with you guys afterwards. I'm having this thing Monday, so I'm going to probably be out of commission for a little bit, but go to the Overcome and Run podcast, go to Obstacle Ring Adventures podcast. They will have tons of interviews and tons of stories. Follow our socials and find out. Anyway, this is I say this in the intro every single week. This is the single greatest event in OCR, and I sincerely mean it. You guys are going to do so good. I have one more episode before the race this weekend. I won't be talking on it though. I won't do. There's no intro. No, I'm just going to play the interview. So this will be the last time we talk before the race. I am so proud of you guys. You are going to crush it. I cannot wait to talk with you afterwards. Shoot me an email, willhicks@gmail. Let me know how you did. You guys are going to be awesome. Good luck. Let's talk. We're going to talk with Eric Dutcher about the team he's running with this year. You can meet Eric out there. Look for him. Look for their bibs. They're running together. It's time to talk with Eric Dutcher. Let's go to the phones. Eric Dutcher, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, it's great to be on with you.
Eric, you work with Project More Unstoppable Diabetics. Tell me about Project MUD.
Yeah, it's a chance for people with diabetes to really take on new challenges and really discover that they're unstoppable. I work with the Diabetes Sports Project Foundation, which is an organization of world-class athletes that really try to get people inspired to do big things by going out and doing big things themselves and then sharing the stories. And I paired them up with Tough Mudder, and we created this thing called More Unstoppable Diabetics.
And you are going to run World's Toughest this year for the first time as part of Project MUD. How is that going?
Yeah, it's great. So we kicked it off earlier in the year with running some of the city events. We ran in Denver and Dallas and got some first-time people doing just the regular Tough Mudder event and the 5K. And then, we've got a team of diabetics taking on World's Toughest. Me for the first time, a couple others for the first time, and then we have some seasoned veterans like Jules Estes and John Murphy who have done, I think, 4 and 7 World's Toughest.
Tell me about your story with diabetes.
Sure. So I was 26 and kind of chasing a mad career and living life, and all of a sudden I started losing weight and really, lost about 20 pounds, which I'm a small guy. So it was evident that something was going on. Went in and got diagnosed and was pretty much told that with type 1 that you can't exercise anymore, that you got to wear shoes everywhere. You got to be careful that you don't get cut because you're not going to heal as quick. And it sent me into about 10 years of really doing nothing athletically. Just kind of too afraid to take on the challenge of diabetes and exercise.
For someone who might not know, what is diabetes?
Yeah, so there's 2 types of diabetes. Type 1, which is what I have, is a autoimmune disease, which basically is just a fancy way of saying the body attacked itself. So for type 1, at some point the body attacks its insulin-producing cells called beta cells, and then it kills them off, and so your body no longer produces insulin. The important purpose of insulin is that basically any energy that goes into your cells works on a lock and key system, meaning in order for the sugar to get into the cell, you've got to have a key to that lock. Insulin is that key, and since my body doesn't produce it, I 24/7 have to add insulin into my body to get the sugar into the cells. Otherwise, I starve. And if my blood sugar goes too low, I could drop into a coma. And if my blood sugar goes too high, I could go into a coma. And type 2, which some people get confused with, type 2 is actually, it's the same lock and key system, but generally because of the way the cell is, the key no longer fits the lock. And so their bodies are still producing insulin, but not doing it. I guess if I could use the Tough Mudder analogy, imagine, your body is trying to get the energy from everything you eat, trying to go up the Everest rounded wall with no level up lane that you can do by yourself and no hands at the top and no ropes hanging down. Basically, you've got a bunch of sugar hanging down at the bottom of Everest saying, hey, we want in.
They said that you can't exercise, you have to wear shoes, you can't get cut. I don't think I've done a Tough Mudder where I didn't get, some bumps, bruises, and maybe some cuts. Are you worried about that?
Yeah, it just comes with part of really overcoming some of the fears. I think, we have world-class athletes now, people summiting Everest. Another member of DSP earlier this year took on the World Marathon Challenge, did 7 marathons in 7 days. We're really trying to challenge the perception that you can't take risks. It's just a matter of making sure that you're taking calculated risks and doing what your body needs to take care of it. I get cut up all the time when I do my Tough Mudders, and I just have to make sure that my sugars stay in range, because if my sugars are out of range, it's harder for my body to heal.
You said you didn't do anything for 10 years after your diagnosis physically. What changed after 10 years? Why did you decide that I'm getting off the couch?
My wife really encouraged me. She just kind of said, instead of saying, hey, I can't do this anymore, she started asking the question, well, what if you did it? And I started applying that to life. And I did a small mud run called the Survival Race, went out there and really loved it. And then that led to me doing my first Tough Mudder. And really that call of when was the last time that you did something for the first time in your life really rang true to me. And that's when I started going out there. And, I'm not to world's toughest yet, but I'll be there this year. But in Dallas, I ran 2 of the classics on Saturday, and then got up the next morning and ran the 5K with new diabetics or diabetics who had never done a mud run before, just on that concept of, well, what if I tried it?
When people do the multi-laps on the weekends, it's not so much the multi-laps on Saturday, it's the getting out of bed on Sunday that's hard for me.
Oh, absolutely. Like there's a little bit of, you get to the end of Saturday and you're like, man, that's pretty cool. The Dallas course was a little bit longer, so it was close to 20 miles, and you get done with it, and then you're like, oh yeah, I got to get up in the morning. But, knowing that I think we had a team of about 12 people running on Sunday, that was just enough to pop right out of bed in the morning.
What are some concerns about running a 24-hour race with diabetes?
So there's probably 42 things that can raise and lower your blood sugar at any given moment. And a lot of those things will be in front of me during World's Toughest and the other diabetics running. Exercise can lower your blood sugar, or it can raise it depending on what type of exercise you're doing. The weather can raise or lower your blood sugar. What you're eating can raise and lower the amount of insulin you've got going in. Stress can affect it. So there's going to be a lot, and also sleep. So sleep deprivation comes into play. So really a lot of us rely on a technology called a continuous glucose monitor, which checks my blood sugar every 5 minutes and gives me a readout of where I'm going. And I have an additional technology which is predicting where my blood sugar is going to go. So I'm going to have to really monitor my carry fuel with me during the 5 mile lap, do kind of hard checks back when I get back to camp, make sure that I've got all the equipment I need. Some of the equipment I have falls off during runs, so there'll be times that I have to go reattach a pump or reattach the CGM. But there's going to be a lot of things that really, we're adaptive athletes, but no one really sees our adaptation.
So you'll be running with a continuous glucose monitor. Is that kind of like attached to you or reading your blood as you run the whole lap, each lap? Yeah.
It's built by a company called Dexcom, and it attaches to your abdomen or your arm, and it's got a little sensor that goes into the space just below the skin, and it's continuously checking and reading out your blood sugar, and then that integrates into my phone and my watch, and so I can monitor where it is.
So
and then I'll have an insulin pump on me as well.
And that's also attached to your abdomen or to your body?
Correct.
So you'll be running a lap, and you might get a notification from the sensor to your watch, say, hey, you need more sugar or you need more insulin. And so eat some nutrition now or give yourself a shot kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got, when I did Denver, we got about a mile into the 5K and I was blood sugar of 44. You're supposed to be 80 to 120. At about 35, you pass out, maybe a little bit lower than that. So, I had to quickly take advantage of some of the honey stingers on the course, take that in. But, within 15 minutes, my blood sugar is right back up where it needs to be.
You'll be running as part of a team, and everyone on your team, is the same situation, has diabetes. So you'll be able to watch each other also.
That's correct. And actually, I think that's one of the things, one of the great things about the Tough Mudder community is just everyone out there is your teammate. And, there's been a couple times where I've slowed down or my sugars aren't quite right. And people without diabetes have just come up and said, hey, are you feeling all right? You kind of look off and, make sure that I'm getting back in range, even though they don't know exactly what I'm battling with.
What about the mud and the dirt, and is everything kind of sealed up so you don't have to worry about that?
Yeah, luckily the insulin pump is waterproof, and as is the CGM. The worst part is the same thing that everybody else deals with, which is taking those goo energy gels or the honey stingers and ripping them open with your teeth, covered in mud. You're just going to get a little bit mud in your nutrition.
People that run World's Toughest talk a lot about sometimes you don't want to eat, but you need the calories, you need the nutrition, so you have to force yourself to eat. Is that something you come across yourself?
Yeah, I would say probably I may be a little bit more prepared to deal with that, though, because on a daily basis that happens. I actually had an incident over this weekend where I'd eaten a big meal, but the type of food that I took in wasn't going to hit my blood sugar for a while. The restaurant took a little bit extra time getting the food to me. And so the timing of my insulin was off from my food. And so actually, even though I had eaten this giant meal, I had to put, sugar tablets into my mouth and force them down just to ensure that I didn't dip down below the rest of the food came on board.
So you're running as part of a relay team. How many miles are you guys looking for as a team and for yourself personally?
Yeah, so good question. We're actually going to run as individuals, but kind of, we're all there together. So we'll be pitting together. I know my personal goal, this is my first one out, but, I'm hoping to get to the 50 miles. I've done some overnight events in the past, and I've done a day where I ran 120 miles in 4 days. So I'm hoping that I can compress that down and maybe get 50 in 24 hours.
World's Toughest Mudder is a crazy race on a good day. Is it more dangerous for someone with diabetes than someone without?
Yeah. Look, we are going to be challenged by all the obstacles and all the weather that everybody else is. I think the way we're thinking about it is that we're going to have an additional obstacle layer that we just have to conquer, and that is keeping our sugars in range. So is it dangerous? Yes. I think it's dangerous for all athletes and to some degree. But the way we look at it is it too dangerous to attempt? No, it's just dangerous enough to be a big challenge. And I think life is about pursuing big challenges.
What would you say to someone with diabetes who thinks that fitness and races like World's Toughest Mudder are out of their reach? I
know where you've been. I've been there before. I didn't get to World's Toughest today by just deciding I'm going to go really big, really fast. I think the most important thing is just start. If you want to get started and you want to do World's Toughest in the future, then start by taking a walk around the block every day and seeing what your body does, and then extend that to 2 blocks and 3. The more we take these incremental improvements, the more our body adapts and makes us able to take on bigger athletic pursuits. And I think, people should know that here I am, about 5 years after the first Tough Mudder that I ever did. And I'm about ready to beat the heck out of World's Toughest.
What about someone with a child who has diabetes? For that child, they may have never known life without diabetes or without, checking blood sugar and getting shots. What can that parent say or do to encourage that child in fitness?
I think it's almost harder for the parents to encourage kids, but I'm spending a lot of time talking with parents about that, because there is this concern that they're stepping into an unknown, or a lot of kids are diagnosed around age 12 or 13 when they're already doing athletics. And I think we just need to remember that diabetes is just part of the equation that we're solving for, and it's not an unsolvable equation. Talk to people that have expertise in the area, work with others, take small incremental, steps towards athletic goals, and you can still get there. It's actually, I started doing as a passion project, working with parents in this area as well as adults on, how can I live a more adventurous life with type 1.
How can people find out more about Project Mud or get involved?
Yeah, we would love to have you reach out. Probably the easiest way to find me is at Chronic Superhuman on Instagram, or you can also email me at Eric@Chronic Superhuman, and that is also a web address, chronicsuperhuman.com, and the details about Project Mud are there.
Eric, do you have any last thoughts on World's Toughest Mudder, running with diabetes?
All I can say is I'm really looking forward to seeing the other athletes out there, and I want to truly thank all of them for really being part of the inspiration in my story. I've always said that, no grumpy people get up in the morning to run miles in the mud, and it's being around that positive spirit and that team attitude that really fuels me and means a lot to me. So thank you to all the other athletes.
Eric Dutcher, thanks much.
Thanks, Will.
Special thanks to Eric Dutcher for appearing in this episode. Well done, Eric. Good luck this weekend with your team. You guys will crush it. Hey, I just wanted to say thanks again. I had a bunch of people reach out to me after last episode and say, hey, here is my experience, and you didn't ask me, but here's what I think. And it was very valuable. I appreciate it. And it was almost 50-50. Like, you should definitely do surgery. You should definitely not do the surgery. Chose to do the surgery, and we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about it more next year. Again, there's going to be one more episode before World's Toughest. And then for recaps, check out Overcome and Run. Check out Obstacle Running Adventures. I will be out of commission for a little bit, so I will look forward to talking with you next year. Crush it this weekend. Do not stop. Get that brown bib. Get that dirty brown bib. Get yourself a silver bib. How about some 75, right? You know what? Tell you what. Get an orange bib, and you can come on the show anytime you want. That's 100 miles, ladies, gentlemen. Who's going to be the first woman to get 100 miles? Is it Amelia this weekend? Is it Aaron Ross this weekend? Is it someone whose name I don't even know? I talked to some of the elites. They don't think there's a black and orange 125 bib that they've trotted out every year. No one's ever gotten close. Most miles is 110. Rhineckers did. I wonder. Anyway, maybe someday on a flat course. Could happen. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I would love a review. Tell me about your race. Tell me how it went for you. Tell me how many miles you got. And if there was one piece of advice you got from the podcast that helped you, put it in that review and share it with other people so other people can see it and I can read it and remind other people. So if there was one thing you got from one episode of the podcast, share that in the review on Apple Podcasts. I would be so grateful. I would appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. I will talk with you next year. Go spend time with someone you love.